Welcome, everyone. This is Our Android Week with Alan Furstenberg in New York, Bruce Turner in Lynchburg, Virginia, Duke Carrico in Kingsport, Tennessee, Cadeas Kalut in Newport Beach, California, and in Menifee, California, Pam Adger. This is Our Android Week. I made a mistake already. We've barely begun. And I got my hair cut today, Alan, and she was spraying this. I was like, what the hell is that? And it was hairspray. I said, I haven't used hairspray in 20 years, so I shouldn't have a hair out of place. It's kind of weird. But anyway. So, that happened. So I was watching the morning shows this morning. I watch all of them, CNN and the three networks, Fox News channel sometimes, if I can stomach it. And apparently Apple has invented the first wearable device, based on the coverage from all the morning shows. But that may not be accurate. Author of Designing and Developing for Glass, available at O'Reilly.com. So anyway, Alan, what do you think? I mean, I'm still not sold for my use case, but I think one of my roommates is a truck driver. He's staying here for another week or so until his apartment works out, right? And I think it'll be a good use case for him.
Really? Why do you think that? Because
he could see a notification while he's driving a truck instead of having to pick his phone up, which is more distracting. Like I've said, a salesperson or anybody who's out and about all day.
Mildly, yeah.
But for me, it's just I'm still not sold on the whole wearable concept, although they had some neat apps and stuff. But what
did you find neat? What apps did you find neat about it?
The stupid open your garage door thing. But I'm sure that you can do that on your phone.
Yeah.
Right? I can change my channels with the Xfinity TV remote control app on my phone or my tablet. I'm sure I'll be able to do that with a watch. I just don't see, because when I'm out and about, I was waiting for the hair thing today, finally get my hair cut, and so I was looking at Flipboard on my phone, but I really don't need a giant thing, and I don't see a need for wearable. I mean, it's nice, And they're beautiful. They're beautifully designed. They're very fancy. The $17,000 high-end one. But what do you think?
This is where I think Apple continues to get it wrong. Wearables are really good for things that are glanceable, that are short, quick interactions. And I think on one hand, Apple does seem to get that, because they're talking about the glanceable interface and those aspects of it. And on the other hand, they don't, because they still seem to talk about deep interaction with the watch applications. And I think they're misunderstanding not so much how the device can be used, but how the device can best be used. And that, I think, is the issue with the Apple Watch, fundamentally.
Other than because you have both, you have Glass and you have a couple, at least one Android watch. So
I have Glass and I have two Android Wear devices.
Okay, so here's what is obviously for a cop, for a surgeon doing surgery, anything like that, Glass is clearly the superior choice. What for the average consumer? Where do you see that settling?
Where do I see Glass settling, or where do I see wearable settling?
As you see Glass, is Glass a wearable?
Glass is a wearable, sure.
So, but it's similar but different from a watch, from Android Wear. But as they become more subtle, and I think they'll eventually become more acceptable to the public, anyway, that's a whole separate thing we don't want to get into. But where 5 years from now or whatever, where are we going to be? Glass versus a watch or some other sort of wearable that we haven't even considered?
Well, I think 5 years from now we're going to be in the same position that we are now relative to where mobile devices were 5 years ago. You're going to see wearables have finally gained the acceptance. They'll become commonplace. They'll become an integral part of our lives in ways that we don't fully understand right now.
Okay.
We'll have seen not just the applications that we anticipated today, but the applications that we didn't anticipate today. We'll see people using it in very revolutionary ways. I think that's what we're going to see with wearables. And I think as part of that, the devices themselves will change.
So, what's your overall impression? If you were an iOS person, I don't know, you have some Apple products and you have Android and Windows. Uh, what's your overall take from today's announcement or second announcement? Really,
Well, here's
as you pointed out, it was the price and the delivery date was pretty much all.
they basically, today's announcement told us nothing. Well, it told us three things that we didn't already know from the announcement 6 months ago or whatever it was. First of all, we got the actual pricing on the devices. Second, we got the release date of the devices. And third, we heard that Tim Cook endorses glanceables. Beyond that, there was nothing new.
Why can't they just say it's a really nice aluminum? Why do they have to get Ive to do this almost
Because
romantic
it's Johnny Ive.
with the
Basically,
literally the flames of hell erupting?
I was sitting there amazed that they could wax poetic about aluminum.
Aluminium. I have to correct you. Aluminium.
Without, I'm surprised, mentioning the fact how rare an element aluminum is. I mean, you got to remember, once upon a time, aluminum was more valuable than gold.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Here's an interesting fact for you, Dan. Do you know there's an aluminum cap on top of the Washington Monument? And it's aluminum because that was the most precious metal at the time.
I did not know that.
Up until very recently, aluminum was incredibly rare, incredibly expensive, and that's why aluminum was recycled. Because it was more valuable to recycle, it was worth it to recycle aluminum cans than to mine it out of the ground.
Is that what changed? What did they find, the Saudi Arabia of aluminum, or?
No, they just improved strip mining methods, basically.
Because I remember when we grew up, it literally was a tin can, right? And then they went to aluminum cans.
Yeah. But, Reynolds Wrap, there were big, not Reynolds, Reynolds, there were big aluminum foil drives. They were big things.
Okay. All right. So I'm not going to rush out and get the Apple Watch. But what's your prediction? Is this going to be a dud or, oh my God, lines wrapped around the building, or something in between?
There'll be lines wrapped around the building. It'll be a smash hit.
And
an absolute smash hit. And in 18 months from now, when the lighter, slimmer version of the Apple Watch comes out, it'll also be a smash hit.
Will young people wear a watch again? Will this coax them into doing that?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest. I think this is going to be... Apple has literally come out and said that the Apple Watch is a status symbol. They are literally dangling it in front of people.
Richard, come here.
It's a status symbol. And the most expensive version of it, is literally, is screaming the fact that it's a status symbol.
All right, so Richard's here. He's a high school senior. He's 18. So tell me, come on in the shot. Tell me, how many of your friends wear a watch? What are your thoughts on this Apple Watch?
I actually have a couple friends that really do wear watches, but they don't wear any particular kind of watch. They just wear what's stylish and what's popular and in for the, I guess you would say, hip crowd.
So it's not so much just they want a functional timepiece, because they probably have a cell phone that tells them the time. It is a status symbol to them.
It's more for looks instead of an actual functioning watch.
A year from now, this is $350. A year from now, do you think you're going to see all the cool kids with an Apple Watch?
It's a possibility if they make it more popular and, I guess, a fashionable accessory.
Well, it's definitely that. There's no doubt it's a great-looking device.
Well, there's lots of doubt that it's a great-looking device, but...
Not in Cupertino. Okay.
Cupertino thinks you can take a left turn onto a one-way street going in the wrong direction. I don't exactly value their opinion sometimes.
I mean, I get that they could take literally a pile of shit and stamp an Apple logo on it, and there'd be a line wrapped around the building, and Wozniak would camp out, the whole deal. CNBC's there live. So I think it's a very impressive device. Do you think it's going to perform well? Because you said that there was some initial disappointment in the performance of Android Wear in its early stage of development that it is in now compared to where it'll be in a year or two. Do you think you're going to see that? Because I can't imagine how pissed off I'd be if I blew 10 grand or up to 17 grand for the really fancy watch, and then I was disappointed in what it could do.
The people who are going to be plopping down 10 grand are not going to care.
Okay.
Can we be honest with that?
Yeah.
The people who are going to put down 15,000.
They're not doing it for the functionality. They're doing it so that the girls will be impressed and their other guys on the golf course will be impressed that they have this.
And they've got the 15,000 to spare.
Right. So we'll see if Craig Shipp gets one. But he says he likes his Rolex. Okay, so next up, some news on Android. 5.1 has been released or unveiled, or what is it?
Well, it's been officially announced by Google now, and it's I believe they've even said that it's beginning to roll out to some devices. This was originally kind of implied by some announcements in the Android One markets, where they talked about new devices were shipping with the product listings for new devices were listing Android 5.1, and nobody could figure out what this meant. But now we've gotten official confirmation 5.1 is rolling out. Aside from stability fixes, which it desperately needed apparently, it also supports dual SIMs directly as part of the device, and the ability that once you've set an Android account on it, that Android account gets locked into the device, even if it gets stolen and wiped. So it still means that you'll be able to control the device later, and that's to go along with Police Force is requesting that feature, and consumers requesting that feature to some extent. Those are the two major changes. There's also some minor configuration changes, assorted other features, but fundamentally this isn't a big change. This is still considered Lollipop, for example.
Is there anything to they decided they're not going to make encryption by default because I guess it's not there yet, or it slows the devices down? Is there anything to
There's
that?
something to it, and it's incredibly disappointing that Google has backed off on that position. My guess is that there were some devices that couldn't quite hack it, or as part of the general stability issues they were having, they ran into this issue. I think it's incredibly disappointing that they backed off it, because it's a significant feature on iOS. It should be a significant feature on Android. It's an important feature.
Okay. All right, so 5.1 coming to someone else's Android device, probably not yours, soon. Okay, so with Lollipop, the next article is arguing that there's more bloatware coming, and the angle is that these devices are competing on price. It's the same base software with their own like TouchWiz or whatever on it, and they're saying that we're going to see more companies paying. Like I think Samsung and Microsoft did a deal where the Office suite of apps will be preloaded if you buy a Samsung phone, so you're more likely to use that. Of course, remember the PC, the Dell PC that would have McAfee or Norton and all these preloaded things. So this is one thing that Apple doesn't do that Android phone manufacturers do is allow bloatware and install their own wrappers, that sort of thing, and for which they're compensated. So it's a way to make some more money from the device. So any thoughts on that?
Just that it will be a shame when it happens, and it will almost certainly happen. But it points to the crapping up of Android going down the same road that Windows has gone down. It's a shame.
But I agree. It's the thrust of this article is probably correct. It's a way to make money because a 99-cent phone or a $99 phone is a $99 phone to the consumer who doesn't know, and if they can make more money, they're going to make more money. So, okay, next is Waze, which is a good app that Google purchased, I think, for $1.2 billion. It gets Google's green light to be pre-installed on Android. So now they're, along with the suite of obvious things like Google Plus and YouTube, the Google app, Chrome, they can also include Waze as a official Google app. But couldn't they include any apps? I'm not sure exactly what this is. And Waze announced this.
Well, they could. My understanding is that they could always include it, but that it, what this does is it gives it the prominence, the panache, and I actually wonder if what it's saying is that it can be installed instead of Maps.
Oh, I don't know about.
It's not clear that it does. But I'm wondering if that's one of the implications here.
Now, some of the data they are incorporating into Google Maps, and this article gets into why do they have two separate map products, two separate navigation products. What Waze, I guess they're better at adjusting your route to incorporate real-time construction or delays based on the Waze users. There's some social functionality in Waze. I think you can make a friend or something. And also they tell you where the speed traps are, the police. If there's a police officer along the route, you'll see a little picture of a policeman. So that's not in Google Maps. So they are different. I guess they just didn't want to piss off all the Waze users, which is why they haven't simply rolled this in the same way that Facebook bought Instagram, but it's still a separate product. There's some connected backbones. But do you find it odd that they would have two separate navigation and map products?
Well, only in the same sense they've got two or three different mail products, and they've got two or three different instant messaging products, or this is Google feeling like the only ones they can compete against are themselves. And that's a bad sign for a company.
I just saw a Drudge headline.
Oh no.
This is on Politico. Tech blog GigaOM to shut down. That sucks. Nothing to do with Android. GigaOM I just saw it here. Just came out a few minutes ago. GigaOM, the 9-year-old tech blog based in San Francisco, will shut down due to a lack of financial resources. A senior editor there confirmed Monday. The site, which was launched by tech blogger Om Malik, one of the smartest guys in the business, as one of several sites covering Silicon Valley and the tech industry, also produces a number of sponsored events.
I'm on gigaom.com, reading directly from them from a post about 25 minutes ago. A brief note on our company. GigaOM recently became unable to pay its creditors in full at this time. As a result, the company is working with its creditors that have rights to all of the company's assets as their collateral. All operations have ceased. We do not know at this time what the lenders intend to do with the assets or if there will be any future operations using those assets. The company does not currently intend to file bankruptcy. We would like to take a moment and thank our readers and our community for supporting us all along. Signed, the GigaOM management.
And continuing with that, Matthew Ingram, the site's senior editor, announced the news on Twitter. This hurts more than I can say. I was just told GigaOM is shutting down. We tried our best, but it wasn't enough. In an exchange with On Media, he said the company is out of cash and that the debt holders have taken over. Trustees will take control of the assets tomorrow. Per Ingram, GigaOM currently employs about 20 staffers on the editorial side, all of whom are now back on the market. That's very sad news. I did not see that coming, but I've always taken them to be a site like The Verge that gets it right more often than not. And it's like people say, I think Anthony said here, and a lot of people say, I'm waiting for the Mossberg review on some product. I would often try to read the GigaOM or the Verge version. So that's shocking news, and our best to Ohm and his whole team, Matthew Ingram. But those guys are smart guys. They're really good. I haven't seen Ohm on do an interview lately, but that's sad. So there we go. Okay, back to Android Week. Are we done on Waze?
Yep.
Let me count the ways. We're done with that topic. Google is reportedly working on a virtual reality version of Android. I guess we got a similar hint with the cardboard thing that you got at I/O, which is kind of, I haven't gotten one, but apparently it's pretty cool. And I don't even think, I think Larry Page announced that you were going to get it, but he didn't say.
It was Sundar who announced it, and
Okay.
he literally announced it as we were standing up and walking out. He's like, "Oh yeah, and you all get some cardboard." And we're walking out going, "We get what?"
I know. You get a piece of cardboard in your bag. I think it was like sort of a just one more thing moment for Sundar. But
And
tell us what cardboard is, and tell us what do you think about the notion of a virtual creating a basically a version of Android for virtual reality sets, and I guess it'll be open sourced or it'll be available free for anyone to use and make a 3D handset.
that seems to be the angle on it. Cardboard is interesting in that it is essentially hardware that is quite literally made out of mostly cardboard, with a couple of other pieces. The total cost to manufacture one of these things comes to about $25. So for $25 plus your existing mobile device, you've got a VR, what am I trying to say? A
Virtual
VR
reality.
ViewMaster viewer, basically.
I loved those as a kid.
And it works really well. I mean, I'm able to look at photospheres through it, or there's some simple games that you can play, and it works very well for that. What I think it kind of was a big slap to both Oculus and Samsung, who are working on these big, elaborate devices, some of which Samsung's, for example, paired with your Samsung device. They basically said, you don't need that. Here, we can do it for $25. And I think that fired up a lot of people's imagination. So that now you see versions of cardboard for iOS, for example. I think Google saying they're going to be making a tailored version of Android for VR is interesting. In the same way that we have tailored versions of Android for a whole bunch of other devices. In the same way that we've got tailored versions of Android for things like words are failing me tonight. They're experimenting. I had some lighting issues tonight. My apologies. That they're experimenting with different hardware configurations and Project ATAP and so forth. And all of these are powered by Android. And I think they're saying, look, Android is a powerful, very powerful system, a very powerful base system, and what we put on top of it can do some really neat and powerful things. So it's an interesting approach.
And clearly a a defensive shot against Facebook, right? Which bought Oculus Rift for $2-something billion.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I think it's a shot against it's a shot against Oculus in the same way that Android itself is a shot against iOS. It's trying to guarantee that everyone can be a player in the market. That anyone who wants to can play the game. So it's trying to provide the generic software to power the hardware, and then it's forcing people to make really, really powerful hardware devices. Because honestly, that's going to be the differentiator in VR. It isn't the software. It's making hardware that runs fast enough, that has enough pixels, that can be responsive enough to handle VR correctly. And that's an incredible challenge. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I'll be surprised if Android is really up to the task.
Oh shit, spider! God damn it! Sorry.
Would you rather the spider or the stink bug?
Oh my god, I'd rather be covered completely from head to toe in stink bugs than a freaking spider. I mean, you talk about turning me into a 10-year-old girl. Whoa, not cool. Okay, sorry. Anyway, our next story. Um,
I don't think we have a next story.
yeah, you can easily send encrypted messages now between Android and iOS. I'm not a big privacy freak, but I guess some people like this stuff. I'm sure Snowden uh, probably used it to talk to his old lady. But
You, journalist, are not the least bit worried as a privacy freak.
only from competition. I mean, well, if I was like, I could see, yeah, I could see if I was like trying to uncover some big city hall scandal. But I'm more in the business side, the publisher. I'm not in the trenches, breaking the big scoops. Um, what the hell was this thing, by the way? About, apparently there was some. I wish I'd looked it up. I just thought
Since
of
we
it.
have nothing else to talk about, let me totally change the subject and ask you. Yes,
This
Dan?
the refrigerator that apparently was spamming everyone. Someone hacked into her freaking refrigerator and it was sending spam. I don't know the details. Did you hear about that?
Nope.
I'll have to look at it. We'll talk about that Friday. If it's true, I don't know. Craig said it, so I have to verify, obviously. Um, that's hilarious. They tracked it down to some lady's fridge. So, I guess I forget what it's called, but you can send these encrypted messages, which are unhackable until they're hacked, like every other thing. So we thank you for watching our program thus far. We'll be back in just a moment.
Well, okay, I looked it up. About the refrigerator sending spam. It isn't entirely clear how true it was or not, but certainly it is theoretically possible. And it's a serious security issue as we get more and more into the Internet of Things.
I think it's freaking hilarious.
You do?
Yeah.
I think it's freaking terrifying. There's nothing the least bit funny about it.
That a refrigerator was spamming thousands of people is not funny? You're scared
Nope.
of the refrigerator?
Terrified.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at such a serious moment. Okay. Next is
Why do you find it so funny?
I think it's funny that they'd be looking for the source of spam, and it's maybe it's some little old lady in her new Samsung refrigerator. And
Would
she
you
had no
find it
clue.
funny if your car was infected by a computer virus?
Okay, I mean I get that angle of it.
How about your microwave oven?
If you just randomly come on,
Your hot water heater?
I get that. The spam angle is what I thought was funny. But I get the idea if all of a sudden someone's going to I'm not going to be able to control my vehicle and it's going to drive over a cliff. I find that terrifying.
It's all fundamentally the same problem. We have piss poor computer security practices, and we're not making them any stronger. See, here's the thing. It's easy to laugh at, Samsung's, if Samsung puts Tizen in their refrigerator, and it works fine because, it's just a refrigerator, it's not doing anything dangerous. And then they take the exact same operating system without any changes, and they put it on a microwave because, it's been proven on the refrigerator, it works fine on the refrigerator, so why wouldn't it work fine on the microwave? But if it has a security hole, we've now introduced a dangerous weapon with a totally insecure operating system.
Okay.
You're not laughing anymore, Dan. Why is that?
I'm just trying to be a guy, I'm trying to be reserved, be professional, and be scared of the spamming fridge lady.
I'd be very scared of a spamming fridge. True or not?
Okay. I'll try
Because
to
if
wipe
it isn't
this.
true today, it will be true tomorrow.
I'll wipe this smirk off my face. I'll give you my best Clint Eastwood stare. Google's new. I have no knowledge of this. If you don't, then we can just close. But Google's new service will ease real-time communications for applications. Did we hit this already?
No, we didn't, and I was kind of surprised that you put it on here because obviously you have no clue what it is,
Correct. We're on the
and
same
you're
page.
turning to me to say, "Alan, please explain this so I can go to the bathroom."
Actually, I installed the astronaut tube, so I haven't had to leave during the show.
We're very proud of you, Dan.
Look at my Instagram if you want to see it. Just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
This is interesting, but once again, this is a case of Google, introducing multiple products that all do more or less the same thing. This is basically a variant of what was first introduced with Google Wave, and that we see some of in Google Drive and in Google Hangouts. It's basically a way for applications to get very quickly the results of changes that take place on a server. We've had this in the past with something called Google Cloud Messaging, and it sounds like this is a much more advanced distribution system. We'll see how it plays out. I haven't had a chance to play with it myself, but I'd point out that once again, this now makes 3 products from Google, which are all doing essentially the same thing. So we've got Google Cloud Messaging, this new messaging system, and Firebase, which Google recently purchased.
Well, at least in this case, it's not 3 that have the exact same name, like Google Wallet, Google Wallet, Google Wallet, Google Hangouts versus Google Hangout.
We don't know if it has the same name. They may rename it, like they did with Google Wallet.
So, that's great or terrible news. Coming up Friday, we will discuss Google Plus and tech stuff. I can confirm that Om Malik is probably not going to be a guest this Friday. He's the guy. Did you ever see him get interviewed? He's just a real straight up guy. He's an Indian dude, I think.
Nope.
I
No,
saw him
nothing
on
about
Twitter.
him.
Really just one of those guys like Elgin. You can just wind up and he's just smart on anything. Been in the trenches, like Nilay Patel or any of these guys. They're just smart. They're like smarter than your average smart person. Like almost on Alan's level. By the way, if you want to learn about wearables and how to design and develop for the most famous one out there, Glass, check out Designing and Developing for Google Glass by our own Alan Furstenberg and Jason Salas. He's probably sweating right now in Guam or drinking beer or both. Any final thoughts, Alan, that we're going to be discussing on Friday?
No, we'll probably be discussing this Apple Watch thing, I'm sure.
Sure, absolutely. Are you getting the $10,000 one or the $17,000 one?
I probably won't get one.
Okay. Thank you all for watching. We have 2 programs. One is called Google Plus Week. That is every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. When I say 8:30 p.m. Eastern, that's not to be taken seriously. That program is the longest running show on Google Plus. This program, every Monday night at 9 Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We actually almost started on time tonight. This is our Android Week, where we discuss Android stuff and GigaOM and Apple Watch. But not always. Anyway, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Last check for comments. No comments. All right. Better late than never. We'll be checking for those comments later on. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Until next time, have a great Android week. I bet Alan's getting the $10,000 watch. I know Craig is.